Epinephrine is synthesized from amino acid tyrosine, while estrogen and progesterone are modified steroids, and prostaglandins are basically fat. Human chorionic gonadotropin is released by enophoblast cells of the placenta. Estrogen and progesterone are also released by placental cells to maintain pregnancy. Prolactin is secreted from anterior lobe of pituitary. Placenta secretes human placental lactogenic factor, which prepare mammary glands to secrete milk. Luteinizing hormone LH stimulates ovulation. Deficiency of insulin causes diabetes mellitus. Deficiency of ADH or vasopressin causes diabetes insipidus. Deficiency of parathormone causes tetany. Deficiency of thyroxine causes cretinism in infants and myxoedema in adults. Hormones are chemical messengers formed by endocrine cells. Chemically, hormones are of the following types: amines composed of amino groups, example melatonin; amino acids, example thyroxine; peptides, example insulin; steroids, example aldosterone. Cortisol, a steroid hormone, is a principal glucocorticoid hormone of many mammals, including humans. Corticosterone is more abundant in some small mammals. It regulates the glucose metabolism and promotes gluconeogenesis, especially during starvation and raised blood pressure. Cortisone in an inactive form of cortisol. Menstruation is caused by the reduction of estrogen and progesterone. Hormone level, especially progesterone, at the end of monthly ovarian cycle. The first effect is decreased stimulation of the endometrial cells by these two hormones, followed rapidly by involution of the endometrium itself to about 65% of its previous thickness. Almost all hormonal secretion by the pituitary gland are controlled by hormonal signal from hypothalamus. The neurohormones are secreted and accumulated by hypothalamus. It is commonly called as emergency hormone or 3F hormone for fear, fight, and flight. It is secretion is regularly by SNS and not by pituitary, as in case of adrenal cortex. It stimulates sweating, heartbeat, and breathing rate. It causes the dilation of coronary artery, supplying blood to the heart muscles, bronchioles, for increasing inspiratory volume and pupil for better vision. Parathyroid disorders. It causes the lowering of blood calcium level. This increases the excitability of nerves and muscles, causing cramps and convulsions. Graafian follicle, the ovarian medulla, contain many rounded or oval bodies, various stages of development. Each follicle contains a large ovum surrounded by many layers of follicle cells. The endocrine glands have no ducts and their secretions get absorbed into the immediate surrounding blood circulation to reach the specific organs to initiate a particular metabolic change. Example thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, and thymus. Parathorm- Parathormone is secreted by chief cells of the parathyroid that regulates the metabolism of calcium and phosphate. It increases calcium absorption from the intestine and also increases calcium resorption from the nephrons of the kidneys. So its deficiency lead to low blood calcium level. Oxytocin, childbirth hormone secreted by neurohypophysis of pituitary gland, stimulates contraction of uterus muscles. It stimulates labor pain for childbirth. When secretion of progesterone hormone declines, it will result in making the end of pregnancy. As the sensory impulse of increasing labor pain reaches hypothalamus, more and more oxytocin is released from posterior pituitary and under a positive feedback regulation in childbirth. It dilates the cervix, vaginal stretching. Myxoedema is caused by deficiency of thyroid hormone or thyroxine in adults. It is characterized by low metabolic rate, low body temperature, etc. This disease can be treated by administration of thyroid hormones. Toxic agents in food which interfere with thyroxine synthesis will lead to simple goiter. Thyrotoxicosis and toxic goiter are under the category of hyperthyroidism. Adrenal glands or suprarenal gland are two triangular endocrine glands. Each of two covers the superior surface of kidney. Each gland has two parts, the medulla and cortex. The medulla forms the grey core of the gland. It consists mainly of chromaffin tissue and is stimulated by the sympathetic nervous system to produce adrenaline and noradrenaline. Adrenaline. The cortex is yellowish tissue surrounding the medulla. It is stimulated by pituitary hormones, principally ACTH, to produce three kinds of corticosteroid hormones which affect carbohydrate metabolism. Example cortisol, electrolyte metabolism. Example aldosterone and sex glands, estrogens and androgens. Thus, injury to adrenal cortex is not like to affect the secretion of adrenaline. The pars distal region of pituitary, commonly called anterior pituitary, secretes growth hormone GH, stimulates abnormal growth of the body, leading to gigantism and low secretion of the GH, results in stunted growth, resulting in dwarfism. Alpha cells of islets of Langerhans of the endocrine pancreas secretes a hormone called glucagon. It is a peptide hormone and plays an important role in maintaining the normal blood glucose levels. It acts mainly on the liver cells, hepatocytes, and stimulates glycogenolysis, resulting in an increasing blood sugar, hyperglycemia. Ovary produces two steroid hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen produces wide ranging actions such as stimulation of growth and activities of female secondary sex organs, development of growth ovarian follicles, appearance of female secondary sex characters, example high pitch of voice, etc. Mammary gland development, estrogens also regulate female sexual behavior. Posterior lobe of pituitary stores and release two hormones called oxytocin and vasopressin. These hormones are actually produced by the neurosecretor cells in the hypothalamus and stand in the terminals of their axon that pass into the posterior lobe when required. Vasopressin is also antidiuretic hormone ADH. It decreases the loss of water in the urine by increasing the reabsorption of water in the distal convoluted tube, collecting tubules and collecting ducts in the kidneys. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are secreted by adrenal medulla in response to stress of any kind of and during emergency situations are called emergency hormones of flight or fight. Cortisol and testosterone are lipid soluble hormones which can directly pass through the cell membrane of the target cell and bind with intracellular receptors. Hormones action involves their reception by target cells, specific proteins called hormone receptors that are located in target tissues only bind with these hormones. Hormones receptor may be of two types: membrane bound receptor and intracellular receptors. Steroid hormones, etc., bind with intracellular receptors, while some hormones, example pituitary hormones like FSH, etc., bind with membrane bound receptors. Fight or flight reaction is a physiological reaction that occurs in response to emergency. Emergency hormone are secreted by adrenal medulla of adrenal gland secretes epinephrine and which stimulates sweating, heartbeat, and breathing rate. Oxytocin is produced by hypothalamus and generally secreted by posterior pituitary. It stimulates secretion of milk from mammary glands, causes contraction of uterus at the time of childbirth. Progesterone is secreted by corpus luteum. It stimulates uterus for pregnancy, implantation, formation of placenta, and development of mammary glands. Atrial natriuretic factor is secreted by atrial wall in response to an increased return of the venous blood. This hormone regulates the blood volume through increased excretion of ions and water. Parturition is the birth process triggered by the oxytocin, which initiates uterine contractions. Prostaglandins are produced in response to oxytocin and CRH production. They are effective at causing uterine contractions at times. Estrogen progesterone levels mark the beginning of parturition. Prolactin hormone is responsible for milk secretion at the end of pregnancy. It is not significant during the birthing or initiation of parturition process. Lack of iodine in diet results in goiter. Oxytocin is produced by neurohypophysis, which stimulates contraction during childbirth. An anterior pituitary secretes growth hormones (GH). Its over secretion stimulates abnormal growth. Testosterone is secreted by Leydig cells of testes in males. Hormones are non nutrient chemicals which act as intracellular messengers and are produced in trace amounts. Endocrine cells are present in different parts of the gastrointestinal tract, example gastrin, secretin, and GIP. Atrial wall of our heart secretes a peptide hormone called ANF, atrial natriuretic factor. RH or IH are produced by hypothalamus. Adenohypophysis is not directly under neural control. It's under the control of hypothalamic hormones brought by portal system.